Hello and welcome to the Red Barrels podcast. It's episode 44, all fours. It's an all four episode. No other numbers in the numerals of the episode. That is a promise you can take to the bank this time. Not any other times. Well, maybe in 11 episodes time you'll be able to do that, but not for the rest of the time. It's not instant. That makes it exclusive. It's like it's a VIP episode. Only fours in it. Only fours. Yeah, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. But it's not just me speaking. I'm Alex. I'm here quite often, usually. I mean, all of them. I think all of them. Who else is with me?
Hi, it's me, Ed. I believe I've also been in every episode, but none of them have felt more fourful than this one, and I can't wait. I can't wait for 400 episodes time when we get 444 like with Jay-Z or something. It's going to be incredible.
Oh my.
But in the meantime, you'll have to make do with 44. And it's going to be pretty damn appetizing, trust me.
I'm salivating at the idea of 444 in, I'm like, probably maybe 15, 20 years time. Probably something like that. Yeah, we can look forward to it.
And I'm actually in my 80s, so 15, 20 years time is not guaranteed, you know. So
Exactly.
I'm going to have to stay healthy for that.
Imagine how rarefied the episodes are going to be by then. Unfortunately, you probably noticed. Wait, isn't there usually 3 people on this podcast?
I thought so.
Yeah, usually yes. This time, no. Sofie, unfortunately, is not with us. We do have some good news. It looks like Sofie has landed on her feet. Looks like things are picking up for Sofie and they're going well, but she still doesn't have internet, which, you know, that's a sentence worse than death. So we wouldn't wish that on anyone. But she should get internet soon, and then hopefully she'll be back on the podcast,
Potting it up
with the boys.
Yeah, I can't wait. It'll be great to have her back.
It will be. We miss her. We miss her desperately. I mean, I don't know how you, dear listener, can stand listening to this without Sofie. But, you know, we appreciate that you do. We appreciate that you do.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that.
And it's not just all fours in the number. It's also an even number. And what does that mean? That means it's a news episode. That's right. We alternate. Remember? Yeah, you must remember by now. It's a news episode. And, we've got a banger of news. It is an all bad news special. Yay!
Yeah, I love bad news.
Everyone loves bad news. That's their favourite type of news. And believe me, you eat well. If you're looking for bad news, you're not going hungry. Not on this episode, not on most episodes, but this episode is just bad news. And the first, it's maybe even a bit more than a morsel of news, bad news, is coming from Ed. Let's make me depressed.
Yeah, well, I'm so sorry. I'm going to make it worse, right? Because I'm going to give some updates to the Xbox layoff story that we started to cover last time, but some more details have come out since then.
Can we just remind our audience that literally that news came out like a few hours before we recorded last time. So obviously we didn't know.
We were very hot off the press.
Yeah, we didn't.
Very hot off the press.
We didn't know all or even many of the details. So it's important that we get them down.
So to give you the big picture overview, the headlines are Microsoft are laying off 4,800 people, 3,200 of whom work for Xbox. And of those, 1,600 have already been laid off or are being laid off as we speak. And the other 1,600 will be being laid off over the course of the next 12 months. So that is bad. And that sucks. That is a lot of people, a lot of workers losing their jobs there. That represents 2% of Microsoft's overall workforce, but 20% of Xbox's. So that is intense. That is a big loss. On top of that, they've also divested of multiple of their studios. So we talked about this last time, and I believe we talked about it the time before because it sort of leaks the sorts of things that were going to be happening. But Compulsion and Double Fine have both gone independent since this news has come out. Ninja Theory and Undead Labs are both being sold, but currently, at time of recording, we don't know who to, so we have no idea what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, it's still not coming out.
And hopefully we'll get more information on that soon, because, I mean, that leaves all 4 of those guys in quite uncertain situations realistically, but especially from the outside perspective, those 2 with unknown buyers. And Xbox are also in consultation with the French government about Arcane. France has heroically got stronger labour laws than many other regions, so they can't just immediately get rid of the workforce. But that's sort of the trajectory that we might expect from Arcane. Hopefully they can at least extract some concessions or maybe even preserve a whole range of jobs. But that's what we've got. Those are the headlines that we sort of mainly covered those last week, I believe. I mean, I think the Arcane stuff hadn't come out, but those were the headlines. In the past couple of weeks then, it's become clearer where some more of these layoffs are actually coming from. For instance, we now know that id Software's Texas HQ are cutting 96 workers out of the 200 workers based there, and then they're also cutting a further 40 remote workers. Apparently, these are mainly technical staff who work on and with the famous id Tech engine. And this is a hard one to swallow, I think, as a gaming fan. It's hard to see a company as successful as id gutted like this. I mean, 96 out of 200 based at their HQ is, you don't have to be a maths wizard to see that is virtually half. That is brutal. And it shows, there's no holds barred here. It doesn't matter whether you've been a massive, both critical and commercial success like id. The people were still vulnerable. id have put out a press statement saying that this returns them to the size that they were when they put out Doom in 2016, with the implication being that they can still continue to operate at the size that they're going to be at. And while I imagine that it's true that they will be able to continue to operate, we can't pretend that this is not a massive loss for the company, and even more so for the workers impacted. They recently put out an expansion for their most recent Doom game, and Andrew Willis, a producer at id, claimed to the BBC recently that people were working 12 to 17-hour days in the months leading up to that release to get it out on time. So presumably, with half the staff gone, I'm sure the remaining staff can just pick up the slack and work 24 to 34-hour days to make up the difference. But for real, I mean, it's clear that there's not exactly spare capacity in before. And again, my thoughts go out not only to the people that have lost their jobs, but to the people that will need to be picking up the slack behind. It is intense. We've also seen ZeniMax. They've been hit hard by layoffs. We've learned in the last couple of weeks there are 379 total reported layoffs at ZeniMax, and that's 213 from ZeniMax Online, who are best known for Elder Scrolls Online, and 166 from ZeniMax Media, which includes most famously Bethesda Game Studios. At ZeniMax Online, 18 months ago, they had 461 workers. So 213, again, is quite a brutal cut. And this comes on top of 62 further layoffs that happened about a year ago. So all told, ZeniMax have lost 275 of their 461 staff members in the last 18 months. So more than half have lost their jobs. Interestingly, they have put out a statement as well, which is very, very similar to id's, saying that this returns them to the size that they were when they were working on the Somerset Isle expansion. Them both putting out very similar responses like this strongly implies to me and to most observers that these are not statements coming from id or from ZeniMax, but are coming from some Microsoft Central press team. So I think we can take the sentiments expressed in that everything will be fine with a little pinch of salt there. The other main studio, we'll talk about Bethesda a bit in a minute, but the other one is Obsidian. We've learned that about a quarter of the workforce at Obsidian have been laid off, and apparently this has also reportedly resulted in them cancelling Avowed 2, which they were ostensibly working on. So at Xbox, about 3,500 of their employees were unionised, most of them with the Communication Workers of America. And so the CWA have put out a press release addressing this situation, which includes the following quote from Mike Davis, good name, who's the VP of the CWA District 213. Quote, "Our union will take all necessary legal and contractual action to defend our members and their rights. We will demand immediate bargaining over fair severance, over vendor contract decisions, over internal placement so that qualified employees can move into open roles, and over recall rights." So the union is obviously aware of this, they're active on this. Hopefully they can secure more favourable terms over those various elements. But I mean, this is still a blow.
Yeah.
This is not ideal. In response, the CWA have also organised rallies at 5 different locations across North America, which took place on July 15th, which is just under a week ago from when we're recording. Hundreds of workers came out on those demonstrations to resist those layoffs. They took place outside the HQs of the various affected companies. And also we've seen Elder Scrolls Online players have gathered in-game in solidarity. They met at the Rosy Lion Inn and Daggerfall and marched through Tamriel in solidarity with the laid-off ZeniMax workers. So that is nice to see. It's nice to see that expression of solidarity from players and from the workers. Presumably in an attempt to distract from these layoffs, Microsoft also have officially announced that Obsidian and Bethesda, 2 of the affected studios, are partnering on a new Fallout. as well as officially confirming that Bethesda are working on Fallout 5, as well as remasters for both Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. Now, if it weren't for what's happening here, and for BDS, of course, I would be quite excited to hear that Obsidian are working on a new Fallout. But it being announced to distract from these massive job losses can't help but leave a bad taste in the mouth. It's so clear, it's so blatant what they're trying to do. And also, it seems in poor taste that in the same announcement, in the same post where they announced these, they also boasted about the success that Bethesda's been having, saying over 17 million copies of Starfield have been sold, over 35 million of Fallout 4 have been sold, their best-selling game of all time, I believe they said, or the most critically acclaimed game, I think that is actually what they said. And along those same lines, we've had responses from politicians of various quarters, including Bernie Sanders, who perhaps listeners have heard of. He tweeted,
I know that guy. I know that guy.
You know Bernie, don't you, Alex?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Bernie tweeted, quote, "Last year, Microsoft made $101 billion in profits and got $12.5 billion tax breaks from Trump and paid its CEO $96 million. This year, it's raising the price of Xbox by $150 and eliminating 3,200 jobs. Please don't tell me corporate tax breaks create jobs. It never trickles down." So, again, seeing those combinations of things, seeing how successful id are and that they are facing layoffs, seeing the success that Bethesda keep having and they're facing layoffs, and seeing the overall incredible quantities of profits that Microsoft made last year and that they're still imposing 3,200 jobs lost in Xbox, it's all a lot to take, right? And we've seen some of these sort of excuses being made, and they're not all excuses, right? Like, there are some real material difficulties in the games industry right now, most notably the RAM shortage caused by the AI bubble. But firstly, all these layoffs, they've been going on at least since 2022 now, this massive increase in the number of layoffs we're seeing in the games industry. That predates the massive spike in RAM price due to AI. So we can't say it's all down to that. And secondly, we're talking about Microsoft here. They're not an innocent party, a neutral party in the AI bubble. I'm sure any of us that use a Microsoft product have been made painfully aware of the fact that they're heavily invested in Copilot. I mean, the work computer that I was provided with recently has got a special Copilot button on it. They're one of the people buying up all the RAM in the first place. So this is not a reasonable excuse. I mean, there's some truth to it, but Microsoft are not an innocent party here. And third, as we've just seen, Microsoft is an enormously profitable company, and gaming is the biggest entertainment medium in the world by some measures. The jobs lost and the art that we might otherwise have got to enjoy has been lost not due to material necessity, but by the logic of needing to make the maximum profits in the short term off of the backs of the workers who do the actual work, but then can be dropped and discarded like they're nothing. That's what we're seeing here. So don't get it twisted. Like, they're not required to do this. There's no material factors that mean that they have to do this. The point of this story is not just that we need to understand how this industry works, and it's not just that we should understand the conditions of the workers who make the things that we love, and it's not even just that Microsoft are big old meanies, right? That's not the point. The point is the economic system is fundamentally unstable, it's prone to crisis, and it periodically creates huge amounts of unemployment, wasting human talent on projects that then get scrapped because it's been deemed that it'd be more profitable to cancel them than release them. We've seen this so much in just our 18 months on this podcast talking about the industry, and I then think about what's to come. And this is just one industry that we're talking about. That's the point of us talking about these stories so much. We're not just trying to say Microsoft are meanies. This is about capitalism, baby. And I'm sure I speak for Alex, and I'm sure I speak for Sofie when I say solidarity to all the workers who've lost their jobs here. I hope that they manage to find work again soon. I hope we end this horrible period of massive unemployment in the game sector. And solidarity too to the workers left behind. They've got so much they're going to be expected to do. I mean, people are already working 12 to 17-hour games in this industry. Crunch is rife, and it's not going to get any better with people losing their jobs. So yeah, sorry to bring such a negative story, but it's important to keep covering this, I think.
I saw a story about what is his name? Hugo something, who is like basically the boss of id currently, like the creative director or whatever. And to be honest, he seems like a pretty decent or entertaining guy in like development videos and stuff. But he put out he put out. I think he's the one who officially put out the statement. Although, as you said, since it's so similar to other departments, probably maybe he did not personally write it about them returning to the size that they were when they made Doom in 2016. And basically, apparently, some like id employees or ex-employees commented on this not terribly positively, and they pointed out that but in 2016. So yeah, I don't know how much you know about the stories of Doom development, but after Doom 3 came out, they worked on a new Doom game, Doom 4, for quite a long time. It was in big like development hell. It was going to be like quite Call of Duty-esque, apparently. It was going to be like demons are invading Earth and your military unit fighting demons or something. And like, you can go on the internet, you can see a lot of the work they did on that ended up being scrapped because they changed it and went a completely different direction. But basically that meant that when they then switched to making the Doom they did make, they made this kind of huge amount of money making this Doom 4 that ended up going nowhere, and I think very little of what they'd done was reusable in this new version. So that meant that development of Doom 2016 was like hellish, ironically, for Doom. And like they had unbelievable amounts of crunch, and they like practically killed themselves to do that. And so expanding the studio was like to try and stop that happening. And yet, even despite that, as you were saying, they were like working 12-hour weeks, 12-hour days or whatever to put out the new expansion. So, I mean, acting like, oh, well, it's not that big a deal because we put out a great game that people loved back then. And, that obviously doesn't even take into account the fact that it takes more labor to make, a AAA game now than it did then. I do wonder if part of the reason the thinking behind that is that they can make up the rest of the rest of the labor with AI, perhaps, which probably wouldn't be great. But yeah,
it seems that would be premature at this stage as well. Like even if you were just self-interestedly pursuing that, and you didn't care about people losing their jobs, which on the big picture these firms don't. Are we really at a point where AI can replace like 50% of the people in your role, like with this technical stuff? Like I'm not seeing any indications that it's at that point. Like I can see that maybe there are points where it can speed up some of your work and your workflow, maybe, but like 50%, really? That doesn't seem plausible to me at all. It feels to me like some of these people are just using AI as an excuse to lay people off, rather than it's actually about AI.
Well, we are seeing like a lot of firms, like they laid off all these people for AI, and then guess what? The cost of AI went up because it was wildly unsustainable as it was. Still is unsustainable, but maybe slightly less if they're going to raise the prices. And it's now cheaper to hire people than to use AI suddenly. There is another issue, which is that like it does seem that most of the people who got fired from id are the technical staff who made id Tech, which would perhaps imply that they're dropping id Tech, and further Doom games or whatever it makes are maybe going to be Unreal or something similar. And that would just be such like a real tragedy. The id Tech, id Tech has its roots in not even just Doom, but Wolfenstein 3D. There is an unbroken line going all the way through there. It's like one of the most storied, like technical stories in gaming. And to just like, oh, well, fuck it, not doing that anymore because we're going to use Unreal like everyone else. And, Unreal, it's got its issues. But it's there's plenty of great games are made on Unreal. But like the Doom games did have like a certain feel to them that was quite different from the general Unreal style. And just if they are going to just jettison that also itself would be a kind of technical and artistic tragedy, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. This is not really important or relevant, but I guess similarly, what are Obsidian what's their Fallout game going to be running on? Because
who knows?
Obsidian have been making games in Unreal for a long time now. Are they going to make a Fallout game in Unreal, or are they going to use Bethesda's like slightly awful creation engine?
Who knows?
Like why is it that id Tech has to die. Can't we kill creation?
That would be the
I
dream,
don't
mate.
know. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
Let's
no,
not kill any of
that's
them,
not
but
true. That's not true. There's a lot
you
of
know what
good
I mean. You know what I
technical
mean.
people who work for Bethesda as well. But
Yeah.
but yeah,
I'm just joking, guys.
yeah.
But you know what I mean. Like,
It is a weird choice because I mean, id Tech apparently, like the technology behind the Doom games is very good. I mean, maybe there's limited things it can be used on. I don't know. I'm certainly not a programmer, but it does. It feels like they could find a use for that. I mean, surely having a useful game engine that they do not have to pay dues for, like you have to pay royalties to Unreal to
yeah.
put out a game on Unreal Engine. Surely they'd like that. I mean, it feels like that might be worth something. I don't know.
I reckon they're not trying to kill it. I reckon they think that that's the thing that they can most easily replace with AI to some extent, and then they're also doing wider layoffs on top.
Yeah.
It would be so silly of them to kill such a valuable asset. Like, they'd be better off selling it than killing it, I think. But who knows? Well, Alex, I believe that's the end of my segment. Now, I hear that you don't have very good news either.
No, I don't.
Would you like to share it with us now?
It's kind of like like you've got like a double chocolate cookie that's like made of like the actual dough has chocolate in it, but then it's also got like chocolate on top or something. It's kind of like that.
I'm a big fan.
But it's like a double shit cookie. That's what we've got today. Yeah. Everyone's favourite.
I would rather it be chocolate.
Yeah. In general, I'd agree with you. Unfortunately, that's not what's on offer today. It's a double shit news episode. Yeah. So basically, unfortunately, it's a much less fun edition of Zalmageddon. That's right. We talked about Zero Parades a few weeks ago. Overall, we liked it. In general, we had issues with it. Criticisms, a bunch of them. But in general, I'd agree we're overall positive. I probably had the biggest criticisms, and I'm still glad I played that game. It was worth the money I paid for it and worth the time I put into it. Unfortunately, it does not appear to have done very well. Zalm has announced that they are laying off up to 32 staff members across all departments. That's what they're saying. They gave out a statement that they put on their social media. The statement is, "Today we are sharing difficult news. While Zero Parades for Dead Spies was released to critical acclaim, its commercial performance has not enabled us to sustain a studio of our current size. We have served redundancy or at-risk notices impacting up to 32 of our colleagues across all departments at Zalm Studio. Their work has made a lasting difference and left its mark on Zero Parades and the studio as a whole. Throughout this difficult process, we have continued to consult and work with representatives of the Zalm Workers Alliance. This changes the shape of Zalm, but not its purpose. Our artistic standards remain unchanged. We will persist. To anyone currently hiring, please consider the colleagues leaving Zalm." So obviously, the reference to the Zalm Workers Alliance, that is the trade union that was set up there by the IWGB. We tried to get a comment from the IWGB, but they weren't able to get back to us in time, unfortunately. But this kind of shows that, the reality is that even if you do unionize, that's not going to, and we saw this also in the Microsoft layoffs that we were just talking about, that's not, a perfect defense against these kind of things. But, the more union you have in the industry and the more unions you have in industry as a whole, in all of society, the more of a defense it is. But even now, currently, Zalm is the only unionized game studio in the UK. Hopefully, that may not be the case for much longer, and Rockstar will have their union recognized. But for now, it's just going to be this. Basically, yeah, it pretty much seems quite likely that Zero Parades did not get the traction it needed. And it seems quite likely, we've talked about it a bit, there is a huge backlash to Zalm, basically for all the shenanigans they've got up to with the Disco Elysium IP and all the creative staff that they kind of chucked out. I don't know, how long had that happened before we started this podcast? I think it was relatively recent at that point. That's why we got the Zalmageddon running segment, right? And, a lot of people kind of were running kind of, if not maybe official boycotts, but they certainly did not buy the game because of this. And, our position was that you should at least give a game by the first unionized studio in the UK a chance. But, I can understand why people would feel uncomfortable buying it, especially since if you're a big fan of Disco Elysium, you're probably on the left. And it's difficult to endorse something that has come about somewhat as a result of, the original creators of an IP basically having that stolen away from them, legally or otherwise. So, I would say that probably the Zao management only have themselves to blame. But that doesn't really probably make things feel much better for the 32 people who've lost their jobs. And certainly, it's not the management who are losing anything out of this, who would really fundamentally be to blame for underselling of zero parades. Ed, you look like you've got something to contribute.
I don't know that I have. I just loaded up the Steam charts to see how many people were reportedly playing Zero Parades at the moment. And the 24-hour peak is 558, and the all-time peak was 3,177. So, it didn't peak that high, all things considered, and it has fallen. That makes sense, right? I guess a lot of people bought it at launch and then played it.
Is where's Disco Elysium on that chart?
Yeah, great question. Let me have a look. I think we can take a guess where they'll be relative to each other. Yeah, 24-hour peak on Disco is at 2,153.
Wow.
And the all-time peak's 8,000.
Well, just,
that's pretty incredible retention of players, really.
Exactly, yeah.
Only a quarter down from the max.
And also, how many years since it came out? Not far off a decade at this point. And it's still, it's right now, it's 2/3 of what the peak was for the Zero Parades.
And 4 times more popular than Zero Parades at the moment.
Yeah. It's a bad situation. The Zero Parades, again, I had my issues with it, but it was obviously a work that a lot of people put a lot of passion into making. All sorts of elements of that game are very exquisitely made. A lot of the writing.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, frankly, I recommend it. If you like Disco Elysium, there aren't many other options to play games like that. I know there's games like Esoteric Ebb, which has a lot of fans. I haven't tried it yet, but that's one game. There's not that many others, and I would recommend playing it. I suppose, maybe the outcome of this, I don't know, I feel bad trying to spin 32 people losing their jobs in a positive light, but there is, I suppose, the chance that it's been proven to the management that they can't continue and find success without making things right with the previous creative staff who they got rid of. So maybe this will cause them to come back to them and find some resolution to that, which isn't horrible. Maybe. But again, I think that will be little consolation, yes, for the 32 people losing their jobs. Yeah, our condolences go to our comrades in the Zaun Workers Alliance, and for the people remaining, I hope you can retain your jobs and do good work, and it can still be fulfilling for you. Yeah, it's just a shit situation. I warned you, listener. It's all bad news. It's all bad news.
Don't say we didn't warn you.
Yeah. Don't you dare go in the comments saying we didn't prepare you for this. Don't you dare.
Don't worry though. It'll be a lighter one next week because it'll be one of our famous game episodes.
That's true. Next week we do have a game episode. I think in general it's been a bit of a slow news week to be honest.
Yeah.
And
slow and sad.
Yeah, slow
and sad.
Sad. Another word beginning with S. Shit. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably going to be it for the episode. It's not going to be a big one. Sometimes I call it a big boy episode. This is a little boy episode. It's a little boy.
Yeah, it's just a little guy.
Yeah.
It's just a little guy. He might be 44, but he's still young at heart.
Right, I'm cutting that. But one thing, I'm not 44.
I didn't mean you. I meant the episode.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
43, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm 43. Sorry.
Yeah.
Getting touchy about it. My birthday's coming up.
You're getting touchy about it. Definitely cut that out.
No, we'll see. I need to make the episode longer. Yeah, that will probably be it, I'm afraid. Not a big one this time, but yeah, that's the way it goes. Sometimes I'm sure I'm sure things will come up. I mean, it is summer, right? Summer's usually a bit slow. That's probably why they announced all that bad news 2 weeks ago, because they thought, well, we don't want to do it in like autumn. That would be crazy. So yeah, that's what we got to live with. That's what we got to live with. As always, we would very much like it if you told other people about this podcast and like talk about it on social media and like review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I mean, is that like so much to ask? I think that's a pretty reasonable ask. Ed, do you think that's too much to ask?
I think that's well within what most people could achieve.
Yeah, I think, you know what? I think, listener, I think you could do that. You know, I think it's within your
I believe in
capabilities.
you.
Exactly. I think
You're a very capable, powerful, charming, likable person,
Exactly.
so I think you'll be all right.
You know, don't sell yourself short. You've been thinking this whole time, I
Hey.
couldn't possibly do that. You can.
Come on
You
now.
can. You can achieve your dreams. And there is no greater dream than promoting our podcast. And I think you know that fundamentally, right? You know that. And when you do promote the podcast, make sure to tell them about us on Twitter. It's at Red Barrels Pod. And us on Blue Sky as well, at redbarrelspodcast.bsky.social. For me personally, you can find me at Alex Dean, ALEXDUIN, on Twitter, and the same name, .bsky.social, on Blue Sky. Sofie, remember her? Yeah, it's hard to forget, but she's not here. She's not here to remind us. But we hold her deeply in our hearts, as always. And when we desperately hark to the heavens for Sofie, we go to twitch.com/SoFreely. Though, as we've said previously, she's on a bit of a hiatus because currently she hasn't got internet. But I'm sure she'll be back soon. She's going to be all over that shit. All over it. Ed, how can people find you?
You can find me at Not a Lemon on Blue Sky or at Still Not a Lemon on X.
Wow.
And I will see you there.
Yeah, you better. And as always, the music's from Brilliant Drink. You know that by now. But do you know it, like, in your heart? Maybe you don't fully, like, know it, but you should do.
Yeah, not capital K, no.
Listen
Not
to the
yet.
music and absorb
yet.
it, and understand it, and integrate it into your soul.
Is it true that it was your number one most listened to song of 2025, Alex?
Somehow, it was also my most listened to song of most years in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Think about how that might be possible. Consider it. Yeah. Just think about that. But no, that's it. That is it. It's a short episode. It's a little boy episode. And so that means we have to say goodbye.
Goodbye.